number one, what does that process do to the water usage? And number two, what does it do, I'm assuming there still is one, what does it do to the parasitic load? You've gone to 50% efficiency, but how much of that is net after that?
That is net.
That 50% is after parasitic load? Correct. What about the water usage?
That's what's exciting.
Yeah, no, I mean,
on the water side,
I'm more excited now than I was before.
On the water side, we actually are a water producer. We're not a water consumer. Okay? Because if we're using lignite, in particular, because we have a very high water content, and it's a closed loop. So we will be knocking the water out after we come off the back of the can, if you will. And it has to be removed before we go to the next phase. But that's existing technology. I mean, those are things that we've done. And the reason we come to that, there's a lot of things that are existing technology but being applied differently. So there's some risk with it. But I think it's, like I say, I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, it's usually with a smile on my face. There's some good opportunities.
Some of the supercritical CO2 also displaces some of the water.
Exactly.
So
It's not working fluid. It's no longer a steam working fluid there.
Dick, identify yourself too, before you answer the questions.
I'm Dick Ellis. I'm an industry consultant working with the Coalition for Secure Energy Future. And one of the questions that I have that we've talked about a lot among ourselves, but I think the audience would like to hear a little bit about it. If we don't take a look at these technologies in the United States, who are our international components as far as developing technologies that where the jobs, the value of these technologies for carbon capture that we would lose out on as far as the country is concerned?
That's a real good point to bring up. And, the U.S. has taken pride in leading in innovation as well. I mean, that's always been part of what we call was what control part of the productivity that we see in quality of life that we got. And you're right. I think there's a large investment required. The ones that are still looking at things like this started out over in Europe. The Europeans actually did a first look at coal in the alum cycle. We piggybacked off of that to look at lignite in the alum cycle. So that was the first step there. So they still have an interest, although that has waned. They're not as interested as they were just a short time ago. The one that's showing the most interest right now are the Chinese. And the developer is anxious about that, to be honest with you. There's a tendency to reverse engineer and to take things and not allow him to do his investment, basically. And that's, protection of intellectual property.
Yes.
You know that one pretty well, Sandra. Try and move there. Try and find into the Chinese market, which is enormous. The Chinese market is very large. Vietnam is very large right now. India is very large. Indonesia is very large. Power plants going up on a regular basis in all of those places. So all of them are interested. And I just was at an international conference down in Florida called the Clearwater Clean Coal Conference, first week in June. And there was no technology discussed as much as this. So all of the countries seem to be aware that this is an opportunity that's being explored. The technology right now is held by the U.S. firm. So they are the ones that are driving it. Now, and you look at it, a lot of these pieces are off the shelf. We're going to change how they operate somewhat. But we gasify coal, we clean the impurities out of coal, we do a lot of those things. They have developed a turbine that will operate on this type of fuel. Toshiba's done that. The smallest they could make was 50 megawatts. They couldn't do any smaller than that. They didn't feel, which is an interesting concept to those of you who are engineers. That was the first one's going to run at a lower load for the turbine because they couldn't commercially produce one that would be that small. Interesting concepts. a lot of unique challenges here, which kind of make an engineer smile,
John?
You all talk about, certain things having to happen. There's contingent on this or that happening for this technology revolution to happen. So, and that this is a Minnesota Chamber event. What can the Minnesota Chamber or its members do to help make this technology revolution happen? Do you want to comment on that?
I think that you got to start talking about what the Coal Council is doing, looking at some of the policy issues that are critical.
And incentives.
And incentives,
Right,
yeah.
so, and I think we're starting, we're seeing movement at the state level. It continues to be important that, a lot of the states are leading the drive for technologies. They're putting the policies in place that unfortunately we're gridlocked on from a national level. So, I think some of these policies that we talk about, some of these incentives, we're certainly approaching it from a national perspective. Advisory like you, the National Coal Council is very supportive of that. But is there something, something similar on the state level, or for the states to be saying, we want this,
Yeah.
we need this. So I think that's really.
Yeah, I want to throw a couple thoughts in. I think that's a great question. And, just one thing I think you're all aware of the long history of collaboration between Minnesota and North Dakota. Lots of energy imports into Minnesota from North Dakota, and lots of work gets done, across the border with service engineering and other service firms. And maybe we should. I think that's a really promising opportunity. We don't have fossil fuels in Minnesota, but we certainly use fossil energy. And so the other thing I would look at too is I think it's probably going to be a while before we're capturing CO2 from Minnesota sources and piping it to EOR fields. But there's other forms of utilization that might make a lot of sense in the state. Like how about CO2 to fertilize algae production for algae biofuels? How about some of these mineralization strategies? I think there's a lot of things that we could explore that are a great fit with the skills and expertise and resources we have in the state.
And everything I hear in Washington is expand the tent, broaden the umbrella. The more, a lot of the work that's being done in North Dakota works because the ERC is involved, the Lignite Council, Great River Energy, it's
We've got
bipartisan.
champions.
Yes,
Right.
it's just a very collaborative effort among different sectors, and I would not dismiss the industrial sector. This is also something that DOE has got really at the top of its, very much on its radar screen. This is not just a power plant issue. This is not just a coal issue. We need to be bringing in the oil and natural gas folks to this as well.
And I would make a statement about, you really should go to the Coal Council's website if people have not done that. The executive summary is very readable for anybody. It takes some of us nerds to go through the whole thing and enjoy it, but I think everybody would enjoy it and find a lot of insights in that document, just talking about it. It's a public policy statement, basically. This is what we're talking about here, and I think that, we have the energy states and the energy consuming states. Well, we're all on this isn't an issue for one or the other. I'm sorry, you're exactly right. We need to find ways that we can collaborate to our mutual benefit to make these things happen. There was someone back here who wanted to say something.
I just wanted to chime in on behalf of the Chamber. For those of you who don't know, I'm Cam Winton. I cover energy policy at the Minnesota Chamber. And thanks for the great presentation today. John, your particular question, what can Minnesota Chamber members do? What can the Chamber itself do? I think a key element of it is every chance you get, mention to policymakers, whether they're legislators, public utilities commissioners, staffers, the price you pay for electricity, or the price that businesses pay for electricity matters. And the prices that we pay in Minnesota for electricity have been increasing, as I think many folks in this room know, have been increasing faster than the national average, have been increasing faster than the rate of inflation, in many instances faster than neighboring states. I know some of us just know that the way we know that the sun rises in the east, but many policymakers have a lot of things in play and don't know that. And once you start with that key fact, you can work backwards into how, of course, we need coal, including lignite, to be part of our energy mix. And then it becomes readily apparent that in a carbon-constrained world, we need to have forward-looking, future-oriented ways to use coal as part of the mix. But again, just to close how I started, the price we pay for power matters. Let's repeat that ad
From an
nauseam.
economic development point of view, we're trying to do business.
Right.
Yeah, Mike Cash in Minnesota Power. I just wanted to share with the group that another, call it a niche for this to fit is in Minnesota, they had their array of listening sessions for the Clean Power Plan over the last several months. And some parties raised the question of what about carbon capture, storage, and utilization, and shouldn't we include that as part of the Minnesota planning context? And the feedback at the time from the state regulators was no, and the reason is there is nobody that's proposed a CCS activity that carried any viability for Minnesota, therefore why provide for including it in planning for Minnesota? So, I'd just say that might be a target for which we would want to consider if what is going under review and development here is going to need to carry some awareness for that state implementation planning so that there's a catcher's mitt for some of this to be part of state implementation planning. And with that said, I also had a question for Mike about, it intrigues me, we're doing Texas, and it's a natural gas demonstration, so you basically starting at the point you would have with the gasifier and moving forward. Has there been a number of what the natural gas pricing would need to be at that would cost justify going to the lignite coal step rather than just staying with that use of cheap natural gas and use the balance of the CO2 cycle from that point? I'm just wondering if we're going to run into one of those things as you test it, demonstrate it for coal, but cheap gas lingers and creates a challenge for it.
We haven't done that calculation at this stage, Mike. Part of the reason is we're still trying to formulate how we're going to get from coal to the syngas, which meets our needs in terms of purities and all those types of things. And that's all a cost issue. And it also comes down to the cost of the equipment as we determine much by the materials we have to use. We haven't got those answers yet. So we've done the calculations that show there's a whole series of assumptions which had to be made. We've decided that let's see if we can get far enough that we can do a better job on making that first calculation, and then we have to go back. We're always going to have a competition. I do believe that the natural gas market is in rapid change right now too. I think because of a number of factors. The fracking has made a big difference there. What's going to happen with the regulatory structure on that's a good question right now. I don't think it's going to stay as it is. You're starting to see the export, which is going to have an impact on that. I know that the numbers that I showed you included a natural gas fired on, or an alum cycle fired with natural gas was one of the prices that we had there. And I think that was a $6 per million, if I remember correctly. But that was just to illustrate it, And so we haven't done that to do a competition. We're going to try to get there.
Yeah, I think that would be an important piece to carry forward when policymakers are looking at parting with big investment dollars for the research to show that you, at the end game, would have that ability to compete with process.
The other thing, you got to remember, with our lignite, we're going to have more CO2. So once we start talking about that as a product, not as a waste or a not used, we're looking a little better all of a sudden. And if you want to get me really excited, just ask me how much CO2 they tell me they could use in the shales over in North Dakota if we were able to find an effective way to take and extract oil with that. It's got a big B in front of the numbers. Let's put it that way. It's in billions of tons. 3, 4, 5, they don't know for sure, but it's always in that sort of scale. We can't build enough plants to generate that right now. So it's exciting. It transforms some things.
coalition, and part of the answer is public business education about, about need for all of energy policy in our region and the country. So the more that we can work with the chamber and others to educate the public about this important need is a very important part of the equation. And we'd love to see more of that.
And there are a lot of opportunities to interact with legislators and, with the Clean Power Plan process in Minnesota. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to comment and raise questions and raise a lot of these points that we've been talking about today.
Bob,
Representative Luna.
I'm actually in the legislature, but when talking to some of the legislators, and there are some preconceived notions of this, the information or the education element today is wonderful, but starting a conversation out with on the basis of what we agree on, and that's as far as objectives, the carbon neutral, burning the biomass, and doing a carbon capture. I can't wait to get back to Shakopee to go over uptown and talk about that. But going through and going, well, what we all agree on, and then working towards it, because there is, and Joel will certainly tell you this, there are intrinsic caps some legislators fall into, and they're just going to fight you. You can tell them that tomorrow's going to be Thursday, and they're going to argue with you for a while. All right, would you agree? They're just that way. But if you go back to going, okay, is the objective carbon reduction? Not carbon creation reduction, but actually having a negative effect on it. Holy cow, that's a diet. And that's coming from a fat guy. But you go through and talking about those different things, that's how you get some buy-in where you actually allow the legislator to agree with you. Then we go back and work and refine the message with Mike, Joel, people that are running around the Capitol all the time, putting together the message and then selling the product, including to Mr. Dayton, who's got to sign it.
Yeah, and I also think, and you've kind of touched on this, that this has to be a partnership with everyone. And I think too often we kind of see each other as opposite ends or opponents, where we really have to start being partners in this whole process, or we're going to go down paths we may not necessarily want to go down or should go down.
If I might throw in a point here, when we put together these big partnerships, people are in them for different reasons, but everybody has to get something out of it. So there's a lot of folks from the oil industry who participate. Some of them are not even sold on the fact that climate change is a problem. There's different views on that. Maybe some people are there just because, hey, I want to produce more domestic oil. That's it. Obviously, a lot of the environmental groups are there because it's a climate strategy. They don't have to be there for the same reasons, as long as they can have the same objective, and everyone's objectives are achieved. So.
Well, if there are any other questions, I'll turn it back over to Doug, and he's gonna. Do you leave the room?
I think Doug might have stepped up, so I'll pinch it.
You want to
say on behalf of the Minnesota Chamber, thank you very much for being here. And our panel was great, and there's beer and food and beer and beer. So, ready to go first. Thank you.
Reception back over here. We have some snacks and some drinks available. Come on back. You good?